Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tarnation TV and the Flatout Racing Network simulcast. Of course, this is produced by Tarnation TV, but hosted by those guys, so let's just get right to it. My name is Blaine Donlin. Of course, we are joined with Kyle Matthews and Seth Cole.
Yeah, what a big fight feel it is tonight. I mean, it's been an incredible regular season. Last week, we kicked off the playoffs, saw playoff driver win and Rodney Sullivan's back-to-back here in the last couple of weeks. 7 slots still available. We know that at a minimum, 6 drivers are going to point their way into the next round, and 38 drivers in the field tonight too. So there's a lot of variables of drivers that are above the cut line could still fall down below, and drivers that are below the cut line that could move up and in by the time the checkered flag waves.
That's got to be an interesting feeling here for Rodney Sullins. He's probably the only one that's comfortable out there of everybody, especially everybody at the playoffs. He has absolutely nothing to lose tonight, and so do the drivers who are not in the playoffs. So it's going to be pretty stressful for the remaining 7.
Rodney comes into this locked in, but if we looked at the point standings coming into tonight, just based off the overall points, he would be sitting 4th in the point standings right now, behind Grant Wesley, Chuck McClure, Joe DeSpirito. Those drivers have a pretty good cushion back to the 8th in the standings cut line. We're going to be talking about that positioning in the points a lot here this evening, because that is the benchmark as to whether you're advancing into the next round of the postseason or not. Denny Carroll, Josh Metallic, they've got a little wiggle room here tonight as well, but a lot of drivers we're going to be talking about specifically tonight are those just above the cut line, drivers like Brian Schilling, Greg Palmer, who is the cut line driver, and then of course 4 drivers that last week had some issues, one of which didn't take the green flag. Godfrey, Bernie Mobbs, Jeremy Jeffries, they all had issues on pit road. Jeremy actually ended up having an engine failure in the closing stages of that race and suffered an even worse finish than what he was slated to finish had he made it to the checkered flag. Brian Rawson did not take the green flag. For those 4 drivers, we're looking at a scenario anywhere from 7 points to 35 points below the cut line. Some of them could point their way in, but obviously for Brian Rawson, it's a must-win situation. And I would honestly say it's ironic that we would think this, but for the defending champion, Jeremy Jeffries, I'm almost wondering if it's a must-win situation for him as well. Minus 19, yes, that is absolutely doable, but it seems like, and we've documented this season after season, playoff drivers always seem to find other playoff drivers in the field. Doesn't matter if it's at the front, middle, or back of the pack. Makes it very difficult when you're playing from behind to make up that ground.
Yeah, and so many times we've seen it. We get down to it late in the race, and it seems like all of the playoff drivers are right up there in contention. So I think, the guys that you just mentioned that have a pretty, I'd say if they're at least double digit points behind, they're probably looking at this as a must-win.
We've seen the last couple of weeks, actually the last few weeks, pit road has played a major part into the outcome of these races, and fully expecting to see the same here tonight in this elimination race. And of course, random qualifying in this series, and a lot of drivers, when we talk to them, they'll say, I would have felt a little bit more confident if I had had a better pit stall up towards the exit of pit road rather than middle of pit road, entrance of pit road. It'll be interesting to see for those playoff contenders, specifically those 6 that we're kind of looking at here tonight, where they're going to be positioned in the random qualifying order, and if there are green flag pit stops, how is that going to help and or hinder them in their quest to make it into the next round. Cy Jones is actually going to get the pole position here tonight, and he'll share the front row with Mark Paglia. Row 2 is going to find Randy Waugh,
Luigi,
and Greg Palmer, who I mentioned. He's the cut line driver, 8th in the standings tonight. He's going to be the highest starting of the playoff contenders. He will be on the outside of row 2. So we'll see what he's able to do in a very critical situation coming into tonight. Bobby Farrell, Keith Bynum, they're going to be row number 3. Doug Hulick and Robert Breedlove going to be row 4. Playoff driver Brian Schilling, just above the cut line. He's going to share row 5 with Dennis McCarthy. Row 6 will find Jeff Crivello and Tim Knopfsker. Josh Metallic, Donnie Garrett, they'll be back in row 7. Josh, a playoff contender. He comes into this one 15 points above the cut line. Jeremy Jeffries, we talked about his situation. He's going to be sharing row 8 with Bernie Mobbs. Both of those drivers below the cut line coming into tonight. Dan Pantaleo, Glenn Harris, they'll be back in row 18, row 19 with Craig Hagley and Kelly Causey. In your top 20, Grant Wesley, who comes into tonight leading the overall playoff points, and Greg Lovell. In row 11 will be John Godfrey, another driver that comes into this race below the cut line. He'll share that row with Ulysses Sandoval. Row 12 will be Chuck McClure and Terry Bombard. Chuck coming into this race second in the overall point standings. Denny Carroll, who is currently fifth in the standings, a total of 18 points to the good. He will share row with Robert Spring. Row 15 going to be Richard Martin and multi-time winner on the season, Joe DeSpirito, another playoff driver who is third in overall standings. Rodney Sullins coming into tonight, the only driver worry-free. He knows he's locked into the round of 8 back-to-back victories, including last week's playoff opener. He'll be back in row 16 with Bob Dixon. Bob Seminara back in row 17 with Brian Lovell. Row 18 finds Mike Mangialardi. Brian Ross in must-win situation tonight as he will be 36th off the grid in the final row. Billy Elliser and Doug Woolley, 38 drivers, a lot of track position, a lot of points on the table here tonight in the first elimination race of season 66.
Another full field, but no knockout again tonight. These guys know how to just not make any waves, I guess. No, just full field, full house, right to the cap.
And that's impressive in and of itself, because so many times you'll end up seeing the playoffs begin, drivers aren't in contention, and they'll migrate over to another series that is just starting up, or that they have a shot of making it into the postseason. It doesn't matter if you're a playoff driver or not. We continue to see these 35-plus car fields every single week. A lot of blue ovals up here at the front of the field tonight. Mustangs very well represented inside of the top 5. They got 4 of those 5 positions with Jones, Paglia, Palmer, and Farrell. Lone Dodge Charger there, the 21 of Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
One driver's already through to the round of 8. 7 more are ready to join Rodney Sullins, but they'll have to traverse Talladega Superspeedway for 66 more laps. Playoff race number 2, elimination race number 1 is green.
Looks like Cy Jones is going to have the advantage here as they head to the back straightaway. A lot of separation between Paglia and Palmer there on the outside. Somebody already dropping to the back. Looks like that's Denny Carroll.
Playoff contender. Some drivers going to be full offense tonight. Other drivers that are above the cut line with a little bit of cushion, a little bit of space, they may be a little bit more defensive tonight. Self-preservation, at least here in the first half of the race, and then try battling in the second half of the race.
And if you're wondering where Cody Lamas is, it's 3-1 Florida Panthers, so he's probably at that game into the second period.
I'm sure he's having a good time with that score.
He's got season tickets, so when they're playing in Florida, you're not going to see him here. Highline starting out, that didn't take long. Last week it took 4 or 5 laps. This week's second lap.
The 63 is now leading. I was about to say Brian Schilling was leading in here for a split second, but now the 63 leading that outside line.
Some of those first ones to jump up to that third lane included Josh Metallic and Jeremy Jeffries, who comes into tonight borderline must win. So a little sense of urgency here out of the defending champion to move his way up to the front of the field.
Cy Jones lead lap number 2. Mark Paglia led lap number 1. 2 laps, 2 lead changes.
And both of those drivers that you just alluded to there that led laps got the bonus points, non-playoff drivers. We've seen in the past couple of seasons, elimination races especially, a lot of gamesmanship when we end up having cautions and pacing laps of playoff drivers staying out the extra lap or two just to get that one lap lead on the board, get that very valuable bonus point, because we have seen that be the difference maker between moving on and not. You've alluded to it, Kyle. Last year we ended up having, 2 scenarios where we had ties in the elimination races of the playoffs.
Yep. I think it was back-to-back rounds, if I remember correctly, or something like that. It was absolutely crazy, but it just goes to show you, how important a bonus point is. It may not sound like a whole lot, but it can make a big difference. I know we've talked about that several times during the broadcast, but it just bears repeating.
Highest playoff driver right now going to be Greg Palmer in the 22. 6 in front of him, non-playoff contenders, and that's one of the interesting things as well with the Super Speedway Series is, of course, during the playoffs, we put a lot of our focus on those that are battling for the championship, but of the 38 drivers that took the green flag here tonight, 26 of them are not battling for a championship. They're out here still, many of them trying to capture their first checkered flag of the season, so it throws in an extra variable here of added pressure for the playoff contenders, because all the others, they got nothing to lose. They kind of have the mentality of bring home the checkered flag or bring home the steering wheel. They don't have to worry about points.
That's one of the bright spots of not making the playoffs. I know that's disappointing for everybody that doesn't make it, but, they have a lot less to worry about now. They can just go out and try to win the race. Everybody else races for a championship. They have to be mindful of points and everything. Now that middle line now being led by Randy Luigi. Robert Breedlove right behind him, and Greg Palmer, you mentioned the highest running championship contender so far, is right there in the third car in line in that middle group. Oh, and we have trouble.
John Godfrey's gone around. I believe he's the only one. I don't know if that's brought out a yellow flag or not. No, lights are still out on the pace car. They were 4 wide through the tri-oval trying to avoid that. I'm not exactly sure how we got away with that just being a single car spin. There was an errant bump through the tri-oval. I saw Greg Lovell in the 088 out of shape, and the end result had John Godfrey spinning down across the start-finish line.
About had one up in the front here.
Yeah,
Greg Palmer got
We're running out of room. So we're still green, but that's a tough break there for John Godfrey, who was one of those 4 drivers coming in tonight below the cut line. He wasn't in a must-win situation, but he definitely needed a good finish. He is going to be really anxious to look up at the flag stand and see a caution flying at some point here to get back into the fight.
I know the way they were going at it here, about a lap or so here once again. They're bouncing off each other here. I don't think we're going to be under green much longer here. They keep this up.
There's been a lot of crazy momentum too. Like we watched a couple laps ago there, Harris had such a head of steam. He pulled out by himself and was able to pass a couple of cars, and then that middle line caught him. But some weeks there's not so much movement. Not so much this week, a lot of movement. So far so good, but the glory of online racing.
And to your point, Blaine, I'm not exactly certain which can be attributed to that momentum we've been able to see these different lines have. I don't know if it's a matter of being able to generate a run based off of timing, or if there's just so much checkup in these respective lines with so many drivers in each one of these 3 lanes.
It's good to see Cyber up front there, and he's just obviously moved into second place now.
Looks like the place to be right now is the inside line, as Robert Breedlove is out in front. Not much of a middle line right there, though.
Wow.
Zach Harris.
Four wide.
Is that Craig Hagley, I think that was? Yeah, rubbing doors with Glenn Harris off of turn 4.
Texaco Haviland throwback there. Yeah, that was a close one.
Was that was Palmer that made that save. That was crazy. We had that happen last week too, where somebody looked like they were going around somehow.
Yeah, it's interesting. We could go back at the end of the season, we could tally up all of the cautions that took place, but we probably would have to add maybe another 10 to 15 to that total of cautions that should have happened and didn't. You mentioned a tremendous amount of saves we've seen this season, incidents that should have been wrecks, but the tremendous talent of the drivers avoiding that situation.
Yeah, he got right on the door of Harris, and everybody held on to it.
Kind of stifled that outside line now. Randy Waugh currently now back in a side-by-side battle for 6th with Craig Hagley. That outside line at one point was up as high as battling for 3rd position. But now all that loss of momentum has allowed the inside line to clear the first 4, roughly 5 cars. We had a driver down on the apron there on the back straightaway.
It's a 0-0, it looked like.
Yeah, Kelly Causey, and has he got an issue, or is he dropping back to help somebody? I'm not sure, but all of a sudden he just lost a ton of speed down the backstretch, and he has actually lost the draft now. Something's amiss on that car.
Yeah, he's only doing 165 mile an hour right now.
It's like he's gaining it back right now a little bit, but I don't know if he got knocked onto the apron and or if he just went down there on purpose or what. But
I'll back it up.
He's still slowing. He's continuing to slow. This is a gradual slowdown. I'm wondering if there was
engine failure or something.
I don't know if it's an engine. If there was an engine failure, we probably would have had a caution out for debris. I'm wondering if there might be like a pedals disconnect or something that took place, because this isn't a rapid decrease of speed. It's a very slow, gradual decrease of speed. So maybe some kind of a hardware failure. It's almost looking like a pedals disconnect, and he's maybe trying to, while he's got the opportunity, nobody around him, to maybe get them reconnected here.
It looked weird that he came out of turn 2, pulled off to the side, and dropped about 30 mile an hour. So if it's a controller issue, that's a pretty convenient spot for that to happen. Strange.
Like he's now picking up speed. He was down to nearly 128 miles per hour through the tri-oval, and now it looks like indeed the speed is increasing. So whatever the issue was, it looks like he's got it under control. Obviously a tremendous loss of track position, but he is, at least for the moment, still going to stay on the lead lap.
I know that Kelly Causey likes to wear 6 pairs of socks. So maybe 3 of those pairs of socks got stuck under the gas pedal or something, and it messed up his throttle.
6 pairs? My gracious.
He has cold feet. I don't know. It's weird. I'm thinking something maybe like, maybe he has a cat or something that was under the desk. Like, I'm always thinking about the craziest thing. Like, I wear slippers when I drive, and I've had my slipper kind of halfway come off, and I'm like, and then you got to kind of kick it off, but you have to take your foot off the gas. It's like some kind of weird thing, like maybe a sock got caught on the pedal, or maybe a cat ran across the desk. Like, you never know, right? It looked like it might have been a local issue, because like you said, if it was an engine problem, we would have seen something.
Oh, looks like he's back up to, I was about to say, it looks like he's
slower than John Godfrey, who's also back behind him.
Like you said, if he was dropping back to help somebody out, they left him hanging because, I don't know.
I mean, unless he's dropping back for the 7-11, that's the only thing I can think of to try and keep him on the lead lap. But that was a long time of decreasing speed for Kelly, sporting that brand new Buckshot Jones paint scheme tonight.
I currently brought up the console here. I'm just checking to see if there's any messages from the 00, and there's not. So I don't know. I thought maybe he might have typed something.
He's going to tuck in behind John Godfrey here. The problem is he lost so much time with whatever was going on.
Wow, and they're right.
Yeah, they're only about maybe, half a straightaway, maybe less than that, ahead of the thundering pack.
I was going to say, Novsker's been making real good headway on that top line. He's almost made it to Breedlove.
He's got Josh Metallic, Brian Schilling, Craig Hadley, Greg Palmer, and others on that outside line, and here they go. Looks like Novsker's going to take the lead right here.
Huge push from Josh.
Yeah, Novsker not in the playoffs, but a lot of these drivers that are not in contention for the championship We call them the proverbial X factors. They could be the pushers, or in the case of Novsker, they can be the leaders of the charge to the front. I mean, look who's got lined up behind him. A couple of playoff contenders in Metallic and Schilling. So obviously that trio working together, and they have made good headway to get themselves 1, 2, 3 heading into turn 1.
And the top 4 is clear of that bottom line. Now they're coming up on the 00 and the 74.
They might start claiming that low line, lining themselves up for some pit stops in the next few laps, too.
Or 7-11, I should say. I see that paint scheme. I'm thinking back to the Randy LaJoy car there. He drove 74, but...
Oh! Dennis McCarthy turned around off of 4! Ulysses Sandoval, Robert Breedlove are around. Bobby Farrell just hit the inside wall, and we got more drivers involved further back here. I saw one of them was Rodney Sullins, last week's winner. Chuck McClure, another playoff driver. He was in the middle of it. Obviously too early to say, but it looked like we may have had a multi-car wreck that's not necessarily going to take anybody out of this race. This could be one of those more harmless wrecks that we sometimes rarely see at a super speedway. The only driver right now that I'm seeing that has any significant damage is Bobby Farrell, who spun rear end first into the inside wall. Everybody else looks relatively good, as I think there was just a whole lot of spinning that went on.
Roof flaps on that 24 did the job. Holy moly, that car was going to lift, it looked like, when it got turned around, but it stayed on the track.
Let's see what happened here. This is where it started with the 024, and maybe he thought he was clear with the 931 and just...
What a pile of cars. I'm surprised nobody got...
There's some pretty good hits in there, and if only one car came out of that with significant damage, I mean, that is something right there.
Looked like maybe Ulysses Sandoval got a bump from behind by Jeff Crivello. Bernie Mobbs got a little piece of it. I think he might have made some contact with Robert Breedlove, but it didn't look like it was a really heavy hit. Chuck McClure was also involved. Not sure exactly how. Ooh, he's going to get a little bit of a late hit from Bobby Farrell, who slides back up into him after hitting the Armco barrier at the entrance of pit road.
After a second look at that, I can't really tell if the 24 came down or if maybe the 931 pushed up a little bit there to start this thing. But
yeah, it looks like you were saying, Seth, that might just be a whole bunch of new tires coming up.
Ronnie Sullins slid slightly into the back of Bob Seminara after a little contact with Robert Spring. But I'm not seeing anybody that made any type of contact that says to me they're not going to be competitive for the remainder of the race. I mean, even the 92 of Bobby Farrell, he took maybe the biggest hit in this wreck into that inside wall, but he hit rear end first. So at least it wasn't where the engine is housed. And I've seen drivers that take hits into the back end of the car still be able to be up in the lead pack. So I honestly would be shocked if anybody's off the pace after this incident, but this was just on the eve of when these drivers are going to have to come to pit road too. So not a whole lot changes in terms of strategy, whether this pit stop had been made here under caution or under green. We're still kind of around the same numbers, around the same strategy that we would have been at had we made the pit stop under green flag conditions too.
I feel like we've seen this so many times this season where, a pretty good wreck will take place involving a lot of cars, but hardly any of them receive any damage. I mean, I don't know how lucky these guys are getting or what, but it's pretty remarkable.
Speaking of lucky, that caution was a lucky break for two drivers, John Godfrey and Kelly Causey. They had just gotten put a lap down, being the only two drivers off the lead lap. They're going to get the free passes here and get back on the lead lap here. Also scoring the 712 of Seminara a lap down. I'm not exactly sure why that is. Unless he had maybe a connection issue and blinked across the start-finish line. I'm not sure how he found himself a lap down. Oh, he made an unscheduled pit stop. All the way back on lap 7. Oh, I'm wondering if maybe the John Godfrey incident that we had through the trial, if maybe he... No, never mind. I thought maybe that might be something that had involved him. So I'm not exactly sure why the 712 made an unscheduled stop, but he also ended up falling a lap down, apparently, and he is third car 1 lap down, so he would not be in the free pass position for this caution.
Well, there's a tough break indeed there, so... Still fairly early in this race, so...
Yeah, Bob's had some really good runs this season. First driver outside of the playoffs. 13th in the standings. Former champion of the Talladega Challenge Series as well. Looks like everybody that stayed out the first lap of caution have now pit. That's going to put Tim Nofsker back out with the race lead. Metallic in second, Schilling third, Greg Palmer in fourth, and Donnie Garrett is going to complete the top 5.
It's like one of those...
2 lucky dog drivers up there in the third line. They'll go around when the lights go out of the pace car.
One of the drivers I noticed that stayed out under that caution, I believe he led a lap, was 6 of Brian Ross, and talk about somebody that's comes into this race in basically a must-win situation, while trying to gain every point possible right there, so I believe he'll get himself a bonus point.
Not only that, but Brian Rawson was one of the drivers that just barely skirted by that big one off of turn 4. He just almost was able to clear the 024 of Dennis McCarthy, fit just between his back bumper and the outside wall, so that could have been his playoffs and his opportunity to move on to the postseason gone just like that. Great heads-up driving to keep his hopes alive. As you said, must-win situation for Brian Rawson since he did not take the green flag in last week's first race of this round. And while we've obviously got the question to answer of who's going to win tonight's race, what 7 drivers are going to move on to join Rodney Sullins in the next round of the playoffs, there's still the bracket challenge that is going on as well. We continue to have our focus on the loser's side of the bracket. Denny Carroll still awaiting his opponent. Tonight, 2 matchups. Billy Elliser taking on the defending winner of the last 2 races, Rodney Sullins. Donnie Garrett taking on Glenn Harris. Winner of those 2 matchups face off against each other next week.
All right, now Donnie Garrett is inside the top 10. I believe he'll be in the 5th position taking this restart. So,
yeah, 3 rows up on Glenn Harris. Both of them inside of the top 12 right now. Rodney Sullins, who we saw get a little bit of that incident off of 4. Looks like he's going to restart back in 18th position. And Billy Elliser checking for the 26 on the grid, 23rd. So they're not that far apart from each other either, about 5 positions on this restart.
Scoring is showing Josh Metallic in first, so that he has lane choice and he's swapped to the outside.
Or he may have thrown in the clutch and may have sniped a lap there on that last pacing lap from Nofsker.
Sometimes they're so close at the line that it just kind of flips. Either way, the pace car's out of the way.
The way that Josh has been racing here in this first stint, I think he's going to find himself leading a lap here under green flag conditions too. So I think getting that bonus point lapped here under caution is not necessarily going to be that much of an issue. As here we go, green flag back in the air. Good launches on both sides. Greg Palmer was right on the back bumper of Metallic. Took a little bit of time for Schilling to get up to the back of the 088, but now that inside line, shorter way around the racetrack, is going to propel Nofsker and Schilling into first and second, and immediately, as they clear the 39, they'll move up to that middle groove.
It's going to leave Donnie Garrett on the inside leading that line. Joe DeSpirito and Grant Wesley are behind him. I almost said Matt Crafton. Wow. See that 88
he drove
font?
an 88 and he was sponsored by Quaker State, so you wouldn't be wrong.
Of course, we'd like to thank everybody for watching on Tarnation TV and Flatout Racing Network. Thank you for the support, everybody. And of course, Redline Performance Motorsports, the sponsor for this season number 66 with Rodney Sullivan's paints. And where's Alton? I haven't seen him commenting in a while.
I'm not sure.
Rodney's dad. He was saying he had a problem logging in there the last couple weeks. That's why Alton's been sort of silent. So, Al, where are you? He's not on my channel. I got Sandra Sullins on my channel watching. All right, 38, you got to roll that pumpkin up to the front, referring to the orange autumn-flavored car that he's driving.
We've had an incident here. It didn't bring out a yellow, but I saw some smoke lingering in turn 3. It was towards the back of the pack. An errant bump from Seminara to Brian Lovell sent him up into the left rear corner panel of Keith Bynum. Both the 44 and the 63 big hits into the Armco barrier at the entrance of turn 3 and back up the track. Surprisingly, that did not bring out a yellow, and both those drivers involved have made their way to pit road for repairs. Actually, Brian Lovell looks like he's done for the night.
Both of them, Keith and Lovell, they're both
and we just
done.
saw a Seminara coming off pit road. I guess took the penalty for that incident right there. So things going from bad to worse for the 712 so far.
Talk about things from bad to worse. Scoring right now is showing Brian Rawson 4 laps down. He actually fell out of the server not too long ago and has not returned as of yet. We mentioned must-win situation. He's dropped from both the server and the TeamSpeak. We'll see if he's able to get back in here, but if he's not, that will more than likely be one of our 4 eliminated drivers at the conclusion of this race.
If he is able to get reconnected back in the TeamSpeak in the server, I believe he'll be given all but one of his laps back, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah, we're just checking out that replay there. Lovell and Bynum both retired from that. And like Kyle, like you mentioned, I think Seminara just took the penalty and headed to the pits.
That might be one of the first times I've ever seen drivers hit that inside wall at the entrance of turn 3. Normally you have a wreck in that corner, they all go up to the outside wall.
And it was synchronized too. They went in there together and came out the same way. It was weird.
Couple of drivers up here now inside of the top 10 that you mentioned earlier, Kyle. The 24 of Joe DeSpirito, the 88 of Grant Wesley. Of course, Grant winning the regular season championship. DeSpirito, 2 victories on the season. Both came into this first round of the playoffs in high seeds and come into this race currently 1st and 3rd in the overall standings. Grant, 34 points over the cut line. Joe DeSpirito, 29 points over the cut line. One would have to wonder what their strategy is here tonight. Obviously, you want to preserve that gap, but if you can win a race here in this round, you carry the 5 bonus points. I think it's 5. No, actually, I believe it's 3 bonus points for winning a race in this round over into round number 2, which pretty much in a sense here for Rodney Sullins automatically puts him as the number 1 seed in the round of 8. I almost wonder, with the kind of cushion that both those drivers, talk about DeSpirito and Wesley, have, if they might be approaching this race as a maybe a must-win scenario.
They very well could. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a must-win, but I mean, it's something that, I mean, they're not entirely locked in. I mean, something could happen, but that could take them both out of contention. But it would take an awful lot for that to happen. So they're feeling a little bit more comfortable than everybody else, I would imagine, other than Rodney Sullins. So yeah, the temptation is there. Go out and try to help yourself for the next round.
We have the phrase must win. Can we coin the phrase would like to win?
Yeah, sure.
Though I feel that's everybody's. I think that's everybody's scenario, though. I don't think that would be necessarily just subjected to 1 or 2 drivers.
So this just in. Yep, we found Alton.
Oh, we did?
On my channel here, Tarnation TV. Sandra is Alton using the wife's account again. So Sandra Sullins, 7434, is actually Alton Sullins.
Hey, doesn't matter what account it is. It's nice to have Alton chatting with us again.
Yeah, he had some issues with his channel, but he had the back. He's on the backup now.
That was an aggressive move right there by Grant Wesley. Just drove right across the nose of Randy Waugh and just looked like he just barely had him clear. So now he's going to lead that inside line.
Bob Seminara getting bypassed. Already a lap down, served the pass-through penalty for that incident just when we went back green on the restart over in 3. Now he's going to go a second lap down to the leaders, and take a look who's making a charge up there in that third lane. Winner of the last 2 weeks, Rodney Sullins. Right behind him, Chuck McClure, who won the season opener. Chuck's another driver, much like Grant Wesley and Joe DeSpirito, that comes into tonight with a pretty sizable cushion between himself and that 8th in the standings cut line. 31 points to the good, second in the overall standing. So another driver that could be a little bit more aggressive here tonight.
And these guys have a little bit of fun in practice. If you were watching, McClure had a wild accident in practice. They were purposely wrecking each other, I think. And he went airborne pretty high off the ground. Demolished that car, but found a new one. Looks just like it.
Rodney now taking it up to the third lane here on a former champion of the series, and Richard Martin, who's the trailing car of the middle groove.
Everybody moving low.
Yep. They're seeing that 3 wide coming. Going to bail out in that middle line just in case the momentum goes away.
Does Metallic try to get in front of Sullins on that outside line? He has a chance to if he wants.
It depend on the momentum.
Yep,
and
there it
goes,
is.
just as you say.
Wow, look at that push. He bailed on Cyber.
Timed it perfectly, and that's a tough thing to do as well when you're switching from the middle to the bottom or from the middle to the top. Is you obviously want to have the momentum push you forward, but you also don't want to stall out the momentum that's being generated there. You have to time it perfectly so that you get the bump, but it doesn't check everybody in that line up and stall out the run that they've got. And it looks like he timed it perfectly there. They're still getting that momentum that they need. He's got himself alongside of Glenn Harris right now. That would unofficially be for the 8th position. Of course, Rolling Thunder Gaming has 4 different series that they run during the course of a week. They've got the iRacing series on Tuesday nights. They got the Aero 88 series on Wednesday nights. Only 2 series adhere to a playoff system. This one here and Monday nights, the Bare Bones Racing series. We haven't been able to mention his name very much tonight. He's just kind of been hanging towards the tail end of the pack. But Terry Bombard picking up an impressive victory this past Monday night at the Chicagoland Speedway, locking himself into the next round of the playoffs on Monday night. So congratulations to him on a big win there. And he is another driver that, much like Rodney Sullins here tonight, that's going to be kind of waiting in the wings to see who his other 7 opponents are going to be once that first round is complete.
See, Grant Wesley jumps to the outside. He's going to lead that outside line now.
A couple other drivers I've noticed that are just kind of chilling at the back. A couple of playoff contenders, Bernie Mobbs and Jeremy Jeffries, 2 drivers that came into tonight below the cut line. Last time by, scored in 30th and 31st, and they don't necessarily look like they have any plans of charging their way to the front anytime soon. They are in full ride mode currently.
It's not a bad strategy at this point of the race. Kind of stay back there, see what happens, and then try to position yourself to make a charge at the end. See more and more cars jumping to that outside line. Now Greg Palmer is alongside Nofsker for the race lead.
And we're halfway home in tonight's first elimination race of the season. That momentum on that outside line is going to keep pushing forward, and Palmer, if they can keep that line, keep that draft tight here through the tri-oval. I think he's going to snipe this lap from the Chevrolet of Tim Knopfsker. Going to be close, but it will indeed be that Alan Kulwicki throwback. John Godfrey on the apron back there as they were crossing the start-finish line. Now going to come back up in front of Kelly Causey. Those two drivers ended up getting the lucky dogs. Ooh, Despirito. Big wiggle there off of turn 2, and that's going to hurt that inside line even more down the back straightaway.
Not sure if he got hit from behind or if he had to lift for the 4 in front of him there, but he's able to save it and everybody keeps going.
Greg Palmer chose to dump down to the inside line. That's going to give Grant Wesley the run on the top.
You think maybe Palmer's just securing a spot for pitting? Probably getting in a window in the next 5 or 6 laps, I would think.
It's a good call.
A little bit early, but you know what? If the hole is there, you might as well take it now because you might not be able to make it down there before. We saw that, was it last week? I think it was Bynum. They were headed to the pits, but he got kind of kicked out of line and spun around, and then he ran out of fuel. So if you can't get down there, you run out of gas.
Yeah, that last lap for Grant Wesley was his first lap led here tonight. So far, we have only had 3 playoff drivers lead a lap this evening, that being Wesley, Palmer, and Metallic. And here comes Rodney to the inside, trying to make a run for second place. You know, I asked Rodney about this last week, and it's an interesting scenario this season because the last couple of seasons we fluctuated, we flip-flopped between Talladega Superspeedway and Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. And so normally, sometimes it was Talladega, sometimes it was BSR. Every season, you would normally end up having the regular season finale, all of your elimination races, and your overall season finale be at the same venues. So normally, you got an opportunity to look at who was the best at one of those particular tracks during the playoffs, and if that track was going to be the final race of the season, you kind of almost looked at them as potentially the favorite if they advanced into the Final Four. That's not the case here this season. We are at Talladega every single week, so there's not an opportunity to take one of the 2 tracks and say, you know what, this is where I'm the best at, this is where I'm going to be the favorite going to that Final Four. It's maybe a much more level playing field now here during the entirety of the postseason.
Yeah, it's hard to sit here and, point out that, that driver's got to be the favorite. We're going to Talladega or whatever. Under this format, racing at the same track, maybe look at who's won the most races. That might be the only way you could kind of pick a favorite, but, this style of racing, good luck trying to find an odds-on favorite.
We just saw the one and only 143 of Bob Dixon head to the pits. That pretty much tells us within the next 3 laps that everybody else is going to be going.
Now, he's always the first one to hit pit road anytime we have green flag stops.
Leaders are going to catch him right here as he merges back onto the track in 1 and 2. Mentioned about that big wreck we had back on lap 16, our only caution so far. Saw the 024 of Dennis McCarthy catch air. That Rainbow Warriors Chevrolet throwback is 6th right now on the grid. So from having 2 tires up off the ground to run up inside of the top 10 about, 22 laps later.
It's probably my favorite paint scheme in the field, so glad to see that car did not get torn up.
Here comes a big group onto pit road. My goodness.
Well, this ain't going to end well. Nope, there
Bernie
goes the 31
Mobbs
around.
is off into the grass. Greg Palmer's around. McCarthy's around. Schilling's involved. The whole second half of that pack is all wadded up.
Well, I think I just cursed the 24 there.
Yep.
Well, Schilling's facing the wrong way. Now he's going to get it turned around.
Ooh,
I'd be
green.
surprised if Bernie Mobbs doesn't get a 30-second penalty. I don't know if he made the commitment cone or not.
That is the danger of a huge pack coming down the pit road at one time. It's why I'd rather pit with a smaller group or maybe even a medium-sized group. But a group that size, that's always a danger.
That might have been the biggest pack that we've seen pit this entire season.
Comes a second group here.
Jeremy Jeffrey is part of that second group. along with Craig Hagley, Ulysses Sandoval, Robert Breedlove, and the lap machine of Bob Seminara. So maybe that was a big reason why Jeremy Jeffries hung at the back of the pack as long as he did, maybe to save enough fuel to go that extra lap. As you said, Kyle, don't come down with that massive pack and run yourself into trouble. Come down with a smaller group.
That's pretty awesome, though. I mean, that many cars. I mean, and sometimes it's flawless. Not that time, not so much, but I love it, man. Green flag pitting like that. Now, once the dust settles with these cycles, we're going to see where everybody's sitting. We're going to have 2 or 3 or 4 little races going on out here, I think, because the packs are going to be split up for sure.
That was always one of my weaknesses when it came to racing, was doing these green flag pit stops. So I always liked it whenever a caution came out. I don't know how these guys are able to do it like that. It's really impressive.
One of the things too, when you have an incident like that on pit road, trying to keep both eyes on what's happening in front of you to avoid the spinning cars. You're not able to have a third eye looking at that speedometer, and sometimes drivers will overstep that 55 miles per hour mark. It'll be interesting to just keep an eye here, see if everybody was able to adhere to that speed limit, or will they get busted for stepping over the line just a little too much. Last couple of weeks, we've seen some big name drivers get hit by the speeding police and not necessarily get the caution they need to be able to catch back up and get back to the position they were at.
Yeah, we've seen that happen in a couple of different super speedway series that we show on FRN. Pit road has just been a pretty treacherous place over the last couple of weeks.
Grant Wesley's going to cycle out to the race lead. He's got a pack of 4 with him: McClure, Paglia, and Josh Metallic. The 3 of those 4 drivers, the 88, the 17, the 39, they're looking really good right now to advance into the next round along with Rodney Selwyn's. Leader of the second group is Jeremy Jeffries, who's not necessarily, again, in a must-win situation, but he needs a good run here tonight to get up above that 8th in the standings cut line for a shot at back-to-back championships.
And he was scored as the race leader before the 88 got by him, so looks like you got him a bonus point.
He did. Got Bob Seminara with him. Seminara currently 2 laps down. Ulysses Sandoval, Craig Hagley, so a pack of 4 trying to run down a pack of 4. Nofsker is all by his lonesome in the 8th position, and then you've got a bigger pack behind being led by Donnie Garrett. This might be the group right here that'll eventually swallow up those smaller packs. And if indeed that is the case, we're looking maybe about 18, 19 drivers that will be up in the lead pack once everything kind of congeals together.
I believe they'll have one more. I believe they have one more pit stop after this too.
When was the last time you used the word congeal?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Never when describing a race car, I can tell you that much. That was a first right there.
Nice. I'm going to write that down. Mark this day on your calendars, ladies and gentlemen. Seth Cole used the word congeal in a broadcast. We should almost have like a bet beforehand to see if we can somehow fit a word in.
Broadcaster bingo, and we go in the encyclopedia and just pull out like 25 random words. And
the word has to say that.
But it has to make sense.
That's what I mean. You take the Britannica Encyclopedia, you rip out 20 pages, you stick them to a wall, and you throw a dart.
There you go.
And then you got to work that in there without making it obvious. And at the end of the race, we can be like, if you can guess what word it was, you win a prize.
I don't know why. It sounds like an incredible idea. I want us to do it now.
I kind of do, yeah. Can we inconspicuously, that wasn't the word, kind of fit a word in there? Congeal would have been a great one.
Yeah.
That second group of, I think, 4 cars right there have caught the lead pack. That group of Jeffries, Seminara, Sandoval, and was it the 82? I believe it was.
Hagley. Yeah, they have congealed.
And in turn, this group is catching Brian Schilling and Bernie Mobbs, who had those issues on pit road. Mobbs ended up spinning into the grass. Schilling got spun around, and they're going to find themselves a lap down here. Is no way that 2 cars, even if they're tandeming, can hold off a lined-up group of 7 or 8. Now they're going to hope for a caution to be able to get back in the lead lap. They'd fall into the 2 free pass positions, but For Bernie Mobbs, he came into tonight below the cut lines. This is not looking good for him to advance. Brian Schilling came into this evening only 8 points to the good. Right now, those drivers are both being shown in the 33rd and 34th positions, respectively. And it looks like one
Black
driver
flag.
did get hit with a penalty. That was Terry Bombard, I believe.
Yep.
That came in really late on our scoring. I'm not
Yeah,
certain if
just
that was a
popped up
black
now.
flag for speeding or if that was something else.
Yeah, I just saw it pop up.
I mean, if it was for speeding, he's not pit yet. If that was for speeding, he pit not that long ago, but I certainly think it was within the last 3 laps, and you're normally only given 3 laps to serve the penalty.
Yeah, and that literally flipped onto my screen in the last minute, and now it's gone. Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe an admin hit something. Because an administrator can issue a black flag. Maybe they hit the wrong button and then cleared it.
We got an issue for the 38 of Rodney Sullins.
Uh-oh.
He's all of a sudden really slow, and you know what? I think he's got damage on the right side of his car. I think he's dealing with some type of damage right now, and I have to wonder if maybe somebody slid into the right side of his car while he was in his pit stall taking service during that green flag cycle.
Yeah,
Very
it was
well
buckled
could've.
in there.
Very well could have happened. I believe he was in that big group of cars that came to pit road and saw all these issues take place.
Would that have caused that? Well, the damage wouldn't cause. I mean, he's still. You know what, though? He's not top speed, though. He's only
No.
by himself. He's running at 175. Usually you can get about 180.
I'm going to check back real quick because I thought at one point that I did see some damage on his car when he was leaving pit road, but I wasn't sure if that was just something on my end. I think somebody slides into his pit stall as he's taking service, and that will cause your car to have damage, and they won't fix it right then and there. He's going to have that damage when they leave, and yeah, it's going to be the 4 of Brian Schilling. He backs into Rodney Sullins while he's in his pit stall, and that damage has obviously hurt the top speed of the 38.
What's your timestamp on that one? I'll rewind to it.
I'll double check here for you.
Currently focused on the race leaders here. 88 Grant Wesley being followed, of course, by the 17 of Chuck Leclerc, Paglia, and Metallic. Jeffries, Seminara, Ulysses, Sandoval, Craig
Like that
Hagley.
timestamp would be at around 39:35.
Cool.
And Sullins is about to go a lap down here to the leaders. Boy, how good has it got to feel with something like that? A fluke accident on pit road. To have that victory last week, knowing you've got that golden ticket into the round of 8. If he hadn't won last week, we could be talking about Rodney Sullins as one of those drivers destined to be eliminated in the first round.
Like we said, the most comfortable driver out there tonight.
Also, an update on Brian Rawson. We documented he was having connection issues. Did not get those resolved. He has not returned into the server. There's no way he would be able to get enough laps back now to be competitive. He was must win coming into tonight. And he is right now slated to finish 38th out of the 38 drivers that took the green. So we know that at least one of the 4 drivers that will not be advancing into the round of 8 will be the driver of the 6.
So here's the replay of Sullins headed to the pits with that gigantic... I'm surprised that in this brouhaha right here that nobody actually got a black flag penalty.
Me too.
I used the word
Bernie Mobbs
brouhaha
had
last
actually
week. Oh, look at that,
merged out with Brian Schilling too, so he must have actually not gotten a 30-second penalty. He must have just barely made the commitment cone.
See, that's the thing. When Schilling bounces into the 38, that car won't move because he's up on the jack, right? Like that animation's locked. So that almost ends up being a harder hit because there's no give, it seems. When you're locked into your pit stall like that, it's almost like hitting a brick wall. Or getting hit by a brick wall, I guess, in Rodney's case.
And to your point, I mean, if Rodney had gone up and pancaked the outside wall at speed, more than likely he would have scrubbed off some miles per hour, but would not have been off the pace. As you say, with the car stationary there, you're not only talking about damage that can affect the aero of the car the rest of the race, you're talking about possibly hurting the engine depending on where the hit is at.
Yeah. Damaging a wheel, anything can happen. We've seen cars go out with wheel being the cause. Have a bent rim or something.
Tell you what, all the kind of trouble you can run into out on the track, especially when you're racing for a championship. I bet you never really imagined that, you could be in your pit stall in the middle of a pit stop and something like that could take you out. I mean, it's got to be
nothing you can do about it. You're sitting there, right? Like just, oh, okay, cool. And like Seth was saying, because that pit stop is already underway, that damage that happens during it, it's almost like they don't see it. You have to go back in and fix it again, because that, the damage that they're fixing is the damage you entered a stall with. Just focused on Donnie Garrett here. He's leading the second pack. He's currently in 8th position. And that pack is about 6 seconds behind.
In that pack there is the 711 of John Godfrey. I'm trying to do some calculations here real quick, try and see who would be on the hot seat right now, just barely in and just barely below the cut line. Now, Greg Palmer came into tonight 8th in the standings. He was 8 points behind Brian Schilling. There are 10 positions separating those two right now, so Palmer would have leapfrogged Schilling, which would, for the time being, put Schilling in 8th. There was 15 positions between Godfrey and Schilling coming into tonight, with Schilling currently in 31st, Godfrey currently in 11th. That is 20 positions difference. So right now, and again, I say this all the time, do not rely on my math. It is usually not correct. But based off where they're running right now, both Palmer and Godfrey would have leapfrogged Schilling, moving Palmer to 8th, to 7th, Godfrey to 8th, and Schilling would be the first driver out as things are currently scored. This is all in speculation that the one of Jeremy Jeffries, who's up in this lead pack, does not win this race. That would move the cut line down, and two of those drivers, Schilling, Godfrey, or Palmer, would end up being below the cut line.
It looked like Wesley just gave the lead up almost. That was weird. It's almost too smooth.
See Cy Jones and Dennis McCarthy coming to pit road.
Windows open to make it the rest of the way, so
a
couple of drivers maybe rolling the dice. I almost wonder there for Grant Wesley. He led most of this run, maybe trying to let the 17 lead, try and save a lap of fuel here in the draft so that way they can all come together rather than Grant having to come by himself a lap early or draw this entire pack to pit road a lap earlier than they want to.
And both of those guys are in the playoff race. You can see those numbers across the top right-hand side of the screen there. The 17 and the 88 are on that list. Congeal.
First and second in the overall points coming in tonight as well. Both former champions of the series.
This just in, Cody Lamas will be very happy. The game is final. The Panthers win 6-3. I'll bet you if I looked up, that's probably a couple empty net goals. It doesn't matter. All goals count. 6-3 over Panthers over the Caps. This has been a hockey update. How's Lamas getting into this broadcast? That's another funny thing is he's getting into the broadcast. He's not even in the race.
Leaders are pitting this time. At least radio's lighting up on the 39, 4, and 1.
There's our pit lane camera to see if we got any takers, and it looks like we do.
That whole first pack.
Oh, Ulysses locking them up here.
Wow. He did something awful. Kept her straight, though. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Ulysses is going to get tires.
This is the money stop here, too. We're within the window to make it the rest of the way. Right sides if you need them. And 1 can of fuel should get us to the finish. Like that second pack's going to go a little bit further.
Bombard a little sideways.
Craig Hagley did not pit with that lead group. He, along with a couple of lap machines, Robert Spring and Bernie Mobbs, going to go a little bit further.
I think both of them already made a green flag pit stop right there, the 74 and the 31. So I saw the leaders catch them right before they came to pit road.
We'll see just how much further the 82 car decides to go. Oh, we got incident on pit road here of that second group that was being led by the 21 of Randy Wall. Looks like Billy Elliser and Richard Martin both got tangled up. Hagley will pit this time.
Yeah, looks
Bernie
like
Mobbs going to come in with him.
Mobbs, yeah. Looks like mostly everybody's done their thing.
Say, barring any penalties that we may not know about, that first group that came to pit road, I think they did that perfectly. They all came down pit road together, all left together, and they're all, right there with each other. Nobody really lost the draft or anything, so.
And something's going to be interesting to follow here is going to be Brian Schilling, because he's trailing this lead pack. So he's obviously in a big pack of fast cars. He's trying to make sure that he stays within the window of both ahead of the 22 and the 711 to be able to move on to the next round. Now, before the pit stop cycle began, he was behind both of them. It'll be interesting to see now, once everything cycles around, where is he positioned? Did he manage to leapfrog either of those two drivers up into one of those top 8 spots?
The last few races have been fantastic as far as yellow flags. Like, I don't know what these guys are saying in the drivers' meeting, but it really settled everybody down. And we've been lucky enough to see some amazing racing.
And that's a great thing for us as spectators, but it can be a frustrating thing for a driver if you end up making a mistake, because, on the plus side, you love being a part of a race that's clean and green, but you'd like to be in the conversation for the win, not having to come back from a black flag or a slow pit stop or a mistake on pit road and no hope of a caution to save you.
Yeah, and any little blip in a green flag stop can cost you so much time under green flag conditions. That's why all that strategy rolling around in these guys' heads. Like you said, too, right when the fuel window opened, we saw guys go into the pits because they know that they can just get full service and make it. And it gets them away from any big happenings, but it also maybe leaves you stranded a little bit, too. Crivello, it looks like, has retired from the race. This the 36 car.
So working my little handy-dandy calculator here, after the pit stop cycle was complete, we're going to use Brian Schilling again as the benchmark. He is a lap down, first car 1 lap down in the 26th position. He was only 8 points ahead of Greg Palmer coming into tonight, which means that Greg would need to be running 21st or better to be able to leapfrog, 16th or better to be able to leapfrog Brian Schilling. Right now, Greg is running in the 16th position, so he would be ahead of the 4 based off of scoring. The interesting one right now is John Godfrey versus Brian Schilling. Those two were separated by 15 points coming into tonight. Schilling is 24th, which means that John needs to be 9th or better. Where's he running? 10th position.
There he is right there.
I'm keeping an eye on, and that lead pack right there could spoil everything that you just talked about, Seth. Jeremy Jeffries, the one car, talked about him being in a must-win situation. Well, he's running in the 4th position right now with a shot at this thing, so this could get interesting in terms of those points.
Right now, if Jeremy were to win, both Schilling and Godfrey would be eliminated. Palmer would be the last driver in to the Elite 8.
We retired cars tonight, Brian Lovell, Keith Bynum, and Crivello as well, out just about 3 laps ago.
Of course, as well, we saw Rodney Sullins win his way into the round of 8 last week. We've got 4 playoff contenders on the lead lap in this lead group that can win their way into the round of 8 here tonight, though right now, McClure, Wesley, and Metallic look like they're pretty safe if they finish right where they were at to make it in on points. But you got Mark Paglia and Ulysses Sandoval in this group as well. They still want to find victory lane. They still want that checkered flag, so we'll see just how much of a factor they play into this. It may come down to 7 drivers getting in on points if either of those drivers are the first one to the checkered flag.
Jeffries and Sandoval just got by Pagula right there. So Jeffries up to 3rd, Sandoval up to 4th. Metallic is now in 5th. Now Ulysses going to the outside. Looks like Metallic might go with him here.
Drivers know the situation for Jeremy Jeffries, know that he's borderline must win. You got to wonder how defensive would Grant Wesley or Chuck McClure be here if the one tries to make a move. I mean, obviously, you want to race him as cleanly as possible, but also if there's a chance that you can eliminate the defending champion of the series from advancing into the next round, you might take that opportunity.
No, absolutely. It's like Grant Wesley going to go to the lead, jumped out right in front of Ulysses Sandoval. He's got the lead for the time being.
Yeah, Ulysses got a great push from Josh, and the 88 saw that coming.
That single file racing is over with.
Yep. We've seen these two race together so many times in the past. I think they've got at least 2, maybe 3 photo finishes in their history, and I think Grant's gotten the better of Ulysses on all 3 of them.
It's like Ulysses has nobody behind him on that inside line right there.
He's bullying them, eh? Look at that. Ulysses is trying to hold that line, and that was an arm wrestle.
And we're in that point of no return, too. Next flag's going to end the race. Next time by will be the white flag, and they make it this half lap to that flag as Paglia shoots up the gap.
Wow.
Throw a blanket over these top, 5, 6 cars. Any one of them have a chance to win it here.
Everything changed about 3 times in that 3/4 of a lap right there. Ulysses is up front. Now he's in 6th.
White flag this time by. Looks like Pagula's going to have the lead at the flag.
6 drivers on the lead lap going to make it to the white flag. How many are going to come around to take the checkers is going to be the question. Caution's out, but I believe they crossed the line. So we are racing back here.
I'm glad. I'd hate to see that thing end under caution like that. So
21 went around in the tri-oval, but the leaders did cross the line, so we are racing back. Single file, and Paglia is out in front.
Sandoval
Here's McClure with a move. Sandoval with a move.
Our hearts can't handle this, guys.
Again, Sandoval with no help, though. McClure's got Metallic behind him, and around goes McClure.
Up and into the air goes Chuck McClure. Paglia going to try and block up at the top. Here comes Grant with a big run. Jeffries to the inside. I think it was Grant.
I think it
was.
But
I think it was Grant.
What a finish.
Wow.
Holy
Scoring.
moly.
What was that? Give us a read. 2,000ths.
2,000?
Oh, man.
Okay.
Like I said, I am glad the caution did not come out to prevent us from seeing something like that. That was incredible.
Mercy.
Back this up real quick.
Wesley, who was leading the points. Paglia, who was looking for his first checkered flag of the season, and Jeremy Jeffries in a borderline must-win situation. It was 18 1,000ths. The difference between the top 3 coming to the checkered flag.
Move there by Jeffries, top to bottom. Almost sniped it there at the end there, but wow, that might be the most exciting finish I've seen so far.
That's one of the best finishes I've ever seen, I think.
Reminds me of the Truck Series finish at Daytona from 2003 with Robert Presley, Rick Crawford, and Travis Quapple there at the end. There was
the moves that Wesley made to have that momentum. And man, if they had another couple 100 feet, it might have been. What's the spread between the top 3? Jeffries
18
was
1,000ths.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we got to get the burnout. I almost forgot about the burnout. I had to go back and look at that replay.
And while we had a photo finish here for the race win, we had ourselves a photo finish, I believe, for that final transfer position as well. I believe, if my math is correct, 2 points is going to be the difference of Brian Schilling, who finished in 23rd, over John Godfrey, who finished 9th.
Wow.
And this was just the first elimination race, guys. We got 4 more playoff races to go.
How much fun were those leaders having on those last couple of laps?
Oh, man.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
The back-to-back playoff races with a playoff driver going to victory lane. Both Rodney Sullins and Grant Wesley will carry some bonus points with them into the round of 8. Grant coming into tonight was in the number 1 seed, the overall points leader. And now he will head into the round of 8, joining Chuck McClure, Joe DeSpirito, and Rodney Sullins as a multi-time winner here in season 66.
Yeah, and
Again,
stay tuned. I'll be running that replay like crazy.
Yeah.
In this post race.
Again, my math is not always correct, so do not quote me on it. But again, I think Brian Schilling got the final spot over John Godfrey, but we'll wait for the official word once everything is calculated. And I believe the calculations have just come in. Wow, you want to talk about a photo finish? I want to talk to you about 7th through 10th in the standings at the conclusion of this race. It's going to be Greg Palmer. He will get in the 7th spot. He was 2 points to the good above the cut line. The cut line was Brian Schilling. He'll be the 8th and final driver to move in on points. John Godfrey's going to come up not 2 points short, 1 point short of advancing. And Jeremy Jeffries, who we saw in that 3-wide photo finish, the defending champion, will not be fighting for the title here 1 season later. He'll end up 10th at the end of round 1, but he was only 6 points shy of getting that final transfer position.
We talk so much about staying out under caution, leading a lap, getting that 1 bonus points. I mean, look at the interval right there between advancing and not advancing.
Unbelievable finish. Looks like it will be Godfrey, Jeffries, Mobbs, and Rawson, whose journey to the championship will come to an early end at the conclusion of round 1. Winners Rodney Sullins, Grant Wesley will move on with their checkered flags. They'll be joined by Joe DeSpirito, Chuck McClure, Josh Metallic, Denny Carroll, Greg Palmer, and Brian Schilling. Those 6 will get in on points. Photo finish amongst the top 3, and we get to talk to all 3 of them. Let's kick things off with the driver that brings home the 3rd position. Let's dial up Jeremy Jeffries. Hey, Jeremy, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got you guys.
Man, wild photo finish here tonight. We knew it was going to be crazy with all the scenarios coming into this elimination race. You almost were able to snipe the victory here tonight to advance into the next round. Unfortunately, a 3rd position has you just short of advancing into the round of 8. But talk to me about that final lap. We saw the caution come out. We were like, hopefully they had gotten across the stripe because we wanted to see how this thing was going to shake out. Did you think it was going to come down to that close once you guys exited out of the tri-oval?
No, I was sitting back there like, I don't know, 6th place or something. I was just like, well, I pretty much knew I had to win this race to advance because of my issues last week. And then Grant went up 3 wide on the outside, and I said, well, I'll follow him, see what happens. And then they wrecked coming off at, I think, turn 4 there, and I gave him a heck of a shove past Mark, and I was like, well, let me try. I got a gap. Let's see if I can go down here and win this thing. And so close.
Yeah, we had you mathematically as a borderline must win as well. And it was interesting to kind of follow your strategy during the course of the race. Looked like for the first half of the race, you just kind of rode at the back of the pack. Once we got to that green flag pit stop cycle, you ended up staying out the extra lap, stayed out of trouble, and gained a ton of track position, able to be up in that lead group. Was that the way you drew it up pre-race, or did you kind of play it a little bit by ear as the race went on?
I just kind of made it up as I went. I was trying to keep myself out of trouble because I knew if I wasn't there at the end, then I had no chance at advancing at all. So I had to at least make sure I made it to the end of the race. And then when everybody pitted, I was like, well, I'll stay out a lap here and lead a lap. So I got a lap lead point and just did everything I could there to try to get the points to advance. And I think I'm going to come up like 6 short.
Obviously, coming into tonight with your scenario, you got to have friends to be able to go to the front. Was there any diplomacy that took place here tonight or maybe during the course of the week saying, hey, I'm in this scenario and I could really use some help?
I mean, I got my people I normally work with. I got Grant and Rodney and some other guys that will work with me on a regular basis. But just, it's the guys that I normally work with are all in the chase, so they have no interest in me winning. They got to get me out of there. So no, I didn't really talk to anybody about it because we're all fighting for the same thing, and it's going to come down to what it comes down to.
Well, Jeremy, obviously it's tough to see you make an early exit here, 1 season removed from taking the whole thing, the entire championship in season 65, but I think that it's going to make it a little bit more exciting for us as fans as well. Now, not having to worry about the championship, you can be a little bit more aggressive and make it a lot more entertaining for us to observe you during these final 4 races. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Well, first off, thank you all for doing the broadcast. Being in the driver's seat's different than watching it back, so I can't wait to watch that back. That was wild from my perspective. I'd like to see what it was like from your all's. Thanks to the admins here on Thursday, Josh, Tim, and Rodney. Thanks to Rodney, Sullivan's Paints, and Redline Performance Motorsports for sponsoring the broadcast of the season. Thanks to my XFM teammates, to all the owners and admins here at RTG, everybody out there watching, and good night.
Well, Jeremy, appreciate taking the time to talk with us here. Congratulations on a great finish here tonight. Unfortunately, not advancing to the next round, but looking to close out the season on a high note, maybe find victory lane a time or two before we end up having our final checkered flag of season 66.
Gonna give it a shot.
Jeremy Jeffries, 18 one-thousandths of a second. You would normally think in that scenario, that's the driver that would finish in the second position. But no, we're going to talk to the driver that finished in second here tonight. He was 2 thousandths shy of getting his first win on the season. Let's dial up Mark Paglia. Hey, Mark, the guy's up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Seth, what's up, man?
Man, I'll tell you what, I gotta wonder, what's the range of emotions from that final lap to now? Because you were up there in that lead group. You're a non-playoff driver fighting for a checkered flag here during the playoffs. You had the lead coming through the tri-oval, and by the time you get to the start-finish line, just 1 car splitter is just barely ahead of yours.
Yeah, I've got the screenshot sitting right in front of me, and you're exactly right. It's just that splinter is about all the difference. I tell you what, I thought I had it there for a little bit when I had Chuck McClure behind me. Then something happened, and I lost my help, and I saw Jeremy and Grant. And then, we got a lot of good drivers, but when you got those two breathing down your neck, I know I had my hands full.
Obviously, had a good car here tonight, started up front, started on the outside of the front row, maintained that track position the entire night, and we're up in that lead pack when it mattered the most. But you mentioned about some of those names you had up there. You had Grant, you had Chuck, you had Jeremy, you had Josh, all playoff contenders, so you knew the aggressive level was going to ramp up with those drivers. How nervous is it as a non-playoff driver when you got all of that going on around you, or does that just make you more motivated as well to make those aggressive moves too?
Well, there's a lot of conflict going on in my mind. I tell you, I wanted to win so bad because it's been so long, but I really didn't want to mess up any of those guys, those playoff drivers. So I said, if I'm just going to keep my line, I'm not going to try to do anything crazy and not to ruin their night. But I was really all I could do not to get across that start-finish line first. But, credit has to go to the guy who won. I mean, Grant's a great driver.
Been an up and down season for you. I believe coming in today, your best finish so far was 6th. You bring it home on the podium here tonight. With 4 races left to go, how much can this runner-up finish do in terms of momentum to maybe get that 1 position better in these final 4 races of season 66?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. It gives me a little more confidence and the kind of little different strategy tonight. I wasn't trying to be real aggressive, but as you said, I was trying to stay in the lead pack without doing anything too crazy. And I think I'm going to just continue to try to do that. Heck, I only took second by what you said of the splinter. So if I can do that again and get my splinter in front, then I'm golden.
Well, a great run for you here tonight. Made an exciting finish for us to be able to observe. I know you would have liked that one position better, but a solid second place here this evening for you, Mark. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Well, I want to thank you up there in the booth, man. You do a great job as always. I know everybody pats you on the back, but I'm going to pat you again on the back, and you do a great job. I want to thank Josh and Rodney and Tim for all they do for Thursday nights. They put on a great place to race, and all my teammates that helped push me across. Chuck was right there with me, and I think he wanted me to win as much as I wanted to win because he knows I've been in a drought. So yeah, thanks to RTG in general. We all miss Bones, and he was the lead captain of this thing, and we're trying to keep it going strong. And I think Josh and Jeremy and Tim and Rodney are doing a great job keeping RTG going strong. Thank you again.
Well, Mark, congratulations on a great run here tonight, bringing it home solidly in the second position up front all night long. And best of luck here in these final 4 races of the season. Maybe be able to get that one position better, and we may be talking to you before the season closes down in Victory Lane.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. And Blaine does a great job with the graphics and everything, and I appreciate that. It's always fun to look. So I have to replay the next day. All right, Seth, thanks. Have a good night.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark Paglia, second position here tonight. Kind of the meat and the sandwich of 2 playoff contenders. His splitter just behind the splitter of this guy who we're going to talk to in Victory Lane. Second win in the season, and he's moving on to the round of 8. Let's dial up Grant Wesley. Hey, Grant, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you. What a finish, man.
Man, I'll tell you what, I don't think I could have said it any better. That was a crazy 3-wide photo finish we were treated to here tonight in the playoffs. Obviously, there were a lot of alliances that got severed there in the closing stages, every man for himself. You came into tonight the points leader, but now with this victory, you carry some bonus points over into the round of 8, but what you guys were able to do on that final lap, going back, replaying in your head, can you believe you were the one that got back to the line first?
Absolutely not. 2 to go. We had a breakaway there. There was like 6 of us. I mean, I knew the worst that I'd finish was 6th place. With 2 to go, I was leading. Those guys kind of got a run on me. Jeremy, my teammate Jeremy there, he kind of stuck with me, and we went to the back. I thought our bed was made. Coming to the white, we were last there out of the group, and going into turn 3, I seen there were 2x2, and I knew Jeremy was going to stick with me, so why not make it 3 wide? So we went to the outside. We had a little momentum. I didn't think it'd be enough to get there, but we were going to try, and sure enough, the 96 looks like he came up a little bit into the 17 and just pretty much demolished the momentum in the bottom lanes, and Mark Paglia was just out front. He was out front, and he didn't know where to go, and he kind of bobbed and weaved maybe a few too many times and scrubbed enough momentum to where me and Jeremy, we definitely got the run there, and I went high and Jeremy went low, and my heart goes out to him. I know he needed to win to get in, but wow, what a finish, 3 wide.
It was interesting, obviously coming into elimination races, you can kind of gauge the field of who's must win, who's must point. You and a couple of others, Despirito, McClure, had great runs last week in the playoff opener. You came into tonight with a pretty good cushion back to 8th in the standings, and couldn't really figure out where you guys stood in terms of your mentality when you took the green flag tonight. Where were you? Were you looking at this race as an opportunity to win and carry bonus points, or were you points racing from the get-go?
Yeah, I was, I started 23rd. My starting position has steadily gotten worse since the playoffs have started. I thought that I was stuck in the bottom, and I got stuck in the middle twice before the first pit stop there, and I was mired towards the back, and yeah, that thought crossed my mind. I was like, man, I need to stay on offense. I need to make sure I keep this thing up front, at all costs, really. I mean, I find whenever you ride in the back, whenever you try to protect yourself, you just find a mess. And so I just stayed on offense. I tried to get the 88 out front, and we did. We led the most laps. That was another box to check, bonus point, and mission accomplished.
Absolutely. You move on to the round of 8. So now looking forward to the second round of the playoffs. How much from what you were doing in not only this race, but last week as well, how does that, in a way, play into your mentality and preparation for next week's first race of the new round?
Yeah, we're going to hit the ground running. Luckily, we maintained that number 1 points position, so we're going to carry those bonus points over, and those are huge. I'll just tell you, having that first, having all those bonus points just helps tremendously in a 2-race, a sprint, if you will. So yeah, we're going to hit the ground running. We're not going to let up off the gas. We're going to try to get some more wins.
Well, Grant, congratulations on the job well done tonight. You were fully situated to point your way into the next round, but you'll carry those bonus points with the victory here tonight into the round of 8. Before we let you get back to your celebrating here, floor is yours for Victory Lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Yeah, I want to start this out. Bob Dixon, man, I know you're going through some tough stuff with, the chemo or with the cancer, I should say, seeing as he came off chemo. Bob, I just wanted to let you know, we all love you here. I dedicate this win to you. We're going to miss you. Factoids will be your legacy for sure. And I just appreciate everything you've done. Thanks to the one car, Jeremy Jeffries, for helping me out. He was there when I needed him. Someday I will definitely return that favor. Like to thank Sean Prime, and once again, we miss Bones, David Cannon. That's a hole here that we'll never fill. Like to thank the admins here on Thursday, Josh, Rodney, and Tim. FRN, Tarnation TV. Thanks to both of you guys for taking time out for us. My teammates with XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
Well, Grant, congratulations on winning your way into the round of 8, becoming the 4th multi-time winner on the season. We've seen you win the championship before and get hot during the playoffs. Look like you might be preparing to do so again. Best of luck in the upcoming round of 8.
Thanks.
Grant Wesley going to pick up his 2nd victory on the season. He, along with Rodney Sullins, will win their way into the round of 8. And we normally say, especially when it comes to the playoffs and elimination races, we say, don't take everything that we talk about when the broadcast closes as absolutely set in stone. Show up next week because it may change. I want to give a little food for thought here, because looking back at the scenarios we had when they took the checkered flag, I did not take into account the fact that Ulysses had that last lap wreck triggered. Now, Sandoval crossed the line in 5th. Godfrey crossed the line in 9th. Those 2 drivers were on the lead lap. Schilling was 1 lap down. If in post-race review, the 096 is charged with the incident and put EOL, last car on the lead lap, guess what? That moves John Godfrey up a position to 8th, which would have Schilling and Godfrey tied for the final position. So while we're talking about 8 drivers moving on, pending what the review is, pending what happened on that final lap, we could have, believe it or not, Kyle, another tie for an elimination spot going into next week.
Why does that not surprise me in the least bit? I mean, man, oh man, that would be something if that ends up being the ruling. Man.
We will have to wait and find out, obviously. Join us next Thursday night. We could be talking about the round of 9 rather than the round of 8. 2 drivers we know for absolutely certain are moving on. Grant Wesley, our winner tonight. Rodney Sullins, who won last week. We also know drivers that have pointed their way in include DeSpirito, McClure, Metallic, Carroll, Palmer. Those drivers we know are locked in. Schilling we know is locked in, at least right now. Godfrey may end up making his way in as well, but we'll have to obviously wait and find out if that scenario does indeed come into play. But what a wild elimination race we were treated to here tonight, and we still got 4 more races, 1 more elimination race still to come in the next 4 weeks. We thank you all for joining us here tonight. Grant Wesley wins a thrilling 3-wide photo finish at Talladega Super Speedway. Hope that you guys join us next Thursday night as we continue the playoffs into the next round of the postseason. For Blaine Donlin, Kyle Matthews, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for joining us here on this Thursday evening. We'll see you guys next week as we continue Season 66 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series on Tarnation TV and the Flatout Racing Network.